Welcome to the censored questions for physical stress. I got to say that because a lot of the answers are on subjects that the powers that be will not let you know. For the uncensored questions, where I can talk about certain medical procedures, please go to our private site. It's a state of our world. At least I'll try and answer as many questions as I can and get by the censors with special wording. So the first one, and this is on physical stress, the question and responses. Stardust Girl 2904. Dr. Bergman, do you have any books we can read or ones you recommend? Yes. There's a couple of really good ones, okay, that I like. Mel Bartholomew's Square Foot Gardening. Because I love gardening, but it gives you a different perspective. And there's another one, The History of Nearly Everything. And I forget the author, but it's brilliant. Then there's Dissolving Illusions by Susan Humphreys, which is amazing. Dr. Tim O'Shea, Vaccination is Not Immunization. It's just, those are brilliant. And then, that's going to give you a good idea of the history of certain medical procedures and what they do. But look at history books. And I know they're rewriting history books. So like when I was a kid, we used to call the time before Christ was born, we used to call it BC. Now it's BCE, before the Common Era. So everything's changing. But those are really good ones. But I read all the time. So it's hard to pick a good one, but those are going to be good ones. Question 2 from Anime 820. Thanks. Worked 24/7 during the pandemic. Tremendous stress, burnout, not depressed, just burnout. I have now fibromyalgia, low T3, T4, pains, can barely walk to the car. Before I ran with heels on. Lost 50 kilograms, fasting and low carb, regained 25 kilograms with stress. On Thyroxine, which is crazy medical procedure, and plenty of supplements, the only marginal improvement, if any. I'm even thinking Thyroxine is worse than no medications at all. You're right on there. How do I get back up there? Would a 2-week water fast reset the whole thing, or increase stress and make it worse? Fantastic. Okay. You're going to have fibromyalgia-like symptoms, but not fibromyalgia. Okay. That's guaranteed. The low T3, T4, that has to do, and again, this is real slow thinking. Okay. If you look at a dirty stream, okay, the medical system is going to add chlorine to that dirty stream or put filters on the dirty stream, and the filters are going to get clogged. What we're doing in the normal healthcare world is I'm finding out why the stream's dirty. I'm going upstream. So when you're in physical, chemical, or emotional stress, your thyroid is suppressed. Adrenal glands are activated. So this is why anybody with adrenal fatigue, low functioning thyroid, their body is responding correctly based on the environment. And you are right, Thyroxine can have a host of negative effects. When they're looking for T3, T4, that's converted in the liver, but it's produced by the thyroid. The thyroid is stimulated or told to produce its material, thyroid-stimulated hormone, by the pituitary. Pituitary is told by the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is told by sensory input into the entire system or how it's functioning. So if you're looking at T3, T4, and TSH, that is so downstream from where the body is really getting its information. So let's get you healthy. And I'm with you on working, not depressed, burnout. Got you there. So let's look at the physical stress. So you may see the weight distribution in the belly, seat, and thighs, and that's typical cortisol mediated. Your sleep patterns are going to be poor. The fasting is a great idea, except it's not going to work if you're not correcting the sleep pattern. So look at our sleep restriction videos. Look at reprogramming the brain. I wrote a pretty decent book on it, but also look at our videos on how to reprogram the brain. There's a lot of different techniques. Neurolinguistic programming, we teach all our patients. I would also look at emotional freedom technique or the tapping. There's also eye movement desensitization response. Look at diaphragmatic breathing is going to be the greatest thing that you can do when you're in acute stress or chronic stress. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So the tummy is moving in and out on respiration. Absolutely fantastic. But when you get all of that done, and then look at the physical stress. So I like digital x-rays of the neck, mid-back, low back. I like stress x-rays to identify the problems that could be generating this. Because the muscles that run down either side of your spine, from the neck down to the sacrum, okay, the top of the skull down to the sacrum, they're not under conscious control. So we got to get you back in the heels. With 3 sisters and a wife, believe me, I know high heels are important. But you're also going to see that the pelvis is more than likely going to be unstable because you've got that automatic nervous system. One part keeps you alive under stress. The other part regenerates tissue. So if you're in a chronic sympathetic dominant state, your body's responding correctly based on that stimulus. So we have to change that stimulus by changing the sleep patterns, getting the physical stressors corrected. The diet, look at higher fats because that's going to be long-term energy and help with hormone production. If intermittent fasting is excellent. That will help. And the water fast is a great idea, except, if you're not sleeping good, you're emotionally still distraught, and you still have physical stress, it's not going to help the way it should. So looking at those 3 stressors, and you're going to be fantastic. And I love we're still in the crazy situation of the world. And I was doing the same thing to try and keep the clinics open and everyone running. I'm with you. Question 3 from the 20 and Crawler. Okay, Dr. John Bergman, getting cervical adjustment, does that influence the vagus nerve? The vagus nerve activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It influence the vagus nerve. Look at, you've got an area of the brain that's oblong shaped and in the middle, okay, of the structure. And they call it the medulla oblongata. So out of there and above that are the origin of the 12 cranial nerves. Vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. So cervical adjustments, absolutely. But also forward head carriage can cause that because you've got this hole in the bottom of the skull called foramen magnum. And all that means is big hole. So the brainstem literally extends down in there. So any upper cervical issues could cause that. Now, the vagus nerve is fantastic. It governs all the digestion. It governs the parasympathetic supply to the heart. Does a lot of different actions. And does it activate the parasympathetic nervous system? No, it's part of the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is going to be based in the neck and in the sacrum. It's called the cranial sacral. It's also called the rest, digest, and repair. The sympathetic is called the thoracolumbar because it's located in the rib cage area and the top of the lumbar. So when you look, these systems actually have locations. And a lot of different nerves of those cranial nerves are going to have parasympathetic activity, and some of them are going to be active in sympathetic activity, like, ocular. Okay, you're looking at pupillary dilation are going to be responding under sympathetic. So when you look at this, it's not in the reductionist system that we have now, where doctors are going to look at certain types of dysfunction. I call it adaptation, but they're going to look at these certain types of dysfunction as blaming the thyroid or blaming the adrenals, adrenal fatigue, or blaming the vagus nerve, or they used to do a condition or a surgery called a vagotomy, where they're literally cutting the vagus nerve. I mean, it's just mind-blowingly stupid. And let me tell you, the medical system has not progressed. So That look at parasympathetic as responding correctly based on the environmental stimulus. It's not going to be compression of one nerve, but that compression in the area, and this could be an upper thoracic one causing your body to round over. It could be a lateral deviation. All of these can negatively affect the structure and communication of that body to that brain, and that can activate or alter the sympathetic, parasympathetic, or the autonomic response to the environment. But when you look at the vagus nerve, it goes on the front and the back of the esophagus. It's just brilliant. But also, okay, and I want you to think about this, because this will give you an appreciation for your body. The vagus nerve does everything: excretion, motility, all the digestive tract. Okay, that's only 10% of its function. 90% of its function is sensory or afferent. Why is that? Does that mean that anytime we put something in our mouth or have some type of reaction, because that digestive tract is where neurotransmitters are produced, it's also where your body literally is able to build itself. So this is where you get the amino acids, the fatty acids, and the usable sugars from food, so you could build a healthy body. So why is 90% of that vagus nerve's sensory input back into the brain? That's the most of its function, because we need to be connected to our environment and know how to adapt. And when you learn about anatomy and physiology, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's still a wonderment to me. I mean, it's just such a brilliant design. But yeah, look at not the vagus nerve as activating the parasympathetic or part of the parasympathetic. It's going to have parasympathetic activities, but it's going to respond to all autonomic input. So if I stand on your foot, that vagus nerve is going to shut blood supply down to the gut. I'm talking causing pain. So if you have any kind of stress, that vagus nerve is going to have its function altered. Isn't that cool? Okay, question 4. Was hit from behind in a car accident, 3 herniated discs in my neck. Now I have headaches all the time. All I was offered was injections, and I don't want injections. I just want to stop the headaches. Does Corrective Chiropractic make headaches go away? Also, am pre-menopausal. Yeah, it's mind-blowingly stupid to think that you've had a trauma, reverse, some type of trauma in the neck. Now, the herniated disc, they were probably diagnosed on an MRI with your laying down in the supine position. So those are going to be inaccurate. And don't own a herniated disc. Discs will herniate, then they go back, okay? It's how their function is. They're 80 interconnecting rings of ligamentous tissue. They're tough, but they do get damaged in big trauma. They're also living tissue, so they do heal and regenerate. It's mind-blowing to think that the body has been knocked out of position, and they're going to inject this with something to decrease the swelling or deaden the nerves to make you less aware of it instead of correcting the problem. Yeah, find a corrective chiropractor that's going to take an x-ray, take a stress x-ray, do a series of adjustments, and take a second x-ray to document that they actually fixed the problem. Will headaches go away? 97% of headaches are coming from the neck. So yeah, you fix the neck, you're going to have a good chance that it's going to fix the problem. But it's not just that. Look at physical stress. That's the hit. Look at chemical stress. That's going to be decreased digestive function. Chemical stress would be poor sleep patterns, because if you have, let's say headaches a lot, you're emotionally going to be upset as well. So poor sleep patterns and emotional stress, all of those things are going to be contributing factors. So, and also what you can do is look at our headache video, if it's still up, apply pressure on the front and back of your head. If that changes it, then sinuses are also involved. And by adjusting the neck, you can alter that sinus sensitivity to the environment. So you're going to see absolutely fix the problem. Don't leave the problem there and inject it or drug it. I mean, 100 years from now, they'll just think these are the dumbest doctors on the planet. Okay. Question 5 from FL Girl, Blur Girl. What's the best way to get your chiropractor to meet your personal goals? Mine, skateboarding, water slides, and roller coasters. Oh my God, totally cool. Okay. Um, what I tell my patients, because patients are asking me like, what type of pillow should I use? What type of mattress should I use? Can I do this exercise or not? Okay, I tell them I'm going to turn you back into 12 years old. Okay, when you were 12, you didn't care what kind of pillow. You could sleep at your friend's house. You could sleep in the back of the truck. You could sleep in the front seat. You're going to be okay. Your goals should be limitless. Okay, what I tell my patients is, look, when we get them to a certain physical state, I want them to push it. And so go out there, talk to the chiropractor, because if you have, and I work with very, very hurt people. I'm people from all around in all stages of damage. I mean, some amputees, people with serious neurologic issues, osteoporosis, multiple fractures, paraplegics, and they have the same goals. Okay. And so we literally say, look, when we get you up to this, we get you on weights, we get the joints working, we get the nervous system working, we change the sleep patterns, we get the nutrition going, we detox the system, we look at the blood to make sure it can hold oxygen. And each stage throughout the correction of a corrective chiropractor, you're going to have increased activity to where you're going to be able to do anything you want to do. Okay, based on your system, it's fantastic. This is why you see people 100 years old jumping out of planes. So, tell your chiropractor that you are a human being. You're designed to live to 120. Your body is continually self-healing and self-regulating, and you want to experience life. If he doesn't understand that, find another chiropractor. I got this one patient. He's a police officer. His father's in the government, and super healthy, ripped guy. And he had a shoulder surgery, had a couple of other things. And his moron doctor, the doctor that did the surgery, MD, said, you got to be cautious. You can't, lift this, or you could tear it or do anything like that. So when I got him under care, I could get him on great weights. We're talking 20 pounds to reform the labrum of his shoulder. And then I told him, look, start working out, start doing this. And he's looking at me like scared and happy, because his other doctor told him, you're very delicate. You got to be careful. This guy's a 35-year-old cop. Okay, he's tough. He likes his job. He likes that physical activity. And so sure enough, he goes out there and pushes it and gets strained, and then pushes it and gets strained. This is life. And he was so happy. He was like a 12-year-old kid. Like, really? I can run as fast as I can? Yeah, I love that guy. Okay, so yeah, get your chiropractor on board. Question 6 from Charles Hansen, 5587. I had a cervical spinal laminectomy 6 years ago. Today, I can't use my hands. I have balance issues. Loss of strength in my arms. Is it possible I was misdiagnosed? Absolutely. Also, I suffer from dysphagia, a problem with swallowing. Is there any hope for me? Absolutely there is. Brother, we got to get you healthy. Okay, the tough part, when they do a laminectomy, and the surgeons, well-meaning, they're working in the wrong place generally. When they're assessing it, they're looking at your body through an MRI, and you're laying on a flat metal plate, so gravity's pushing down, the table's pushing up, inflammation distorts the magnetic resonance imaging, because it faces all the hydrogens in one direction, and then the computer's got to interpret it. And they're not looking at the rest of the body. Balance issues means, and there's 3 things that govern balance: information coming up from the spine, the vestibular ocular apparatus, or the eyeball on the horizon, and the cerebellum. So that, and the strength of your hands, this comes from the brachial plexus, which is at the base of the neck. So even though you've had a laminectomy, you get to a corrective chiropractor because the area above and below are still moving. And 6 years means that there's probably not going to be a heck of a lot of damage. or degeneration from the surgical intervention. It usually takes 3 to 5 years to see beginning bone change. So we still got a chance above and below the surgery site to see if the discs are still viable. So that's the key. So when you get a stress x-ray, have them not look at just the neck. That's just dumb. You've got to look at the thoracic area, because if your body has been laterally deviated and the head's forward, this is going to affect the cervical spine. And this is why surgeons are working in the wrong place. If you have significant structural deviation, such as the pelvis is off or lumbar is off or cervical spine is off, okay, but they see those discs there and they're going to operate on them, it's just really downstream thinking. They're not looking at what the real problem is. So get a stress x-ray, even though you've had surgery. Get to a corrective chiropractor, because one of the 7 questions that I came up with to find a corrective chiropractor is, do you work on post-surgery cases? I got a boatload of post-surgery cases, because it's with a 70% failure rate in the first 5 years, 90% if they fuse more than 3 segments. Once you get surgery, you have got to get to the chiropractor. The rub there is, if you get to the chiropractor, you might not need the surgery. So, there is hope for you, brother, and you were misdiagnosed. Okay, they're working on bad data and dysphagia. Not just hope. You're made in the image and likeness of God. I tell people, throw hope in the trash can. This stuff's guaranteed after I get some data on them. But no, you're a living, breathing, tissue-producing, biologic, divine entity. So you will get a recovery. I don't know how much. I'd like to see the x-rays and stress x-rays, but you will recover, brother. I don't know how much, though, but I've got to tell you, out of maybe 1,000 patients I've had with surgical laminectomies, all of them have been helped. And I can show you some horrible where the surgeon fused it in a reverse curve. Now, question 7 from Luca Selene. My husband fell 27th of February, 2023, broke his upper femur. Ooh. While in the hospital, he developed a side forward head tilt. The hospital gave him very little physical. He still cannot walk, and I'm his 25-hour caregiver. Where do I start trying to help him? God bless you. God bless you. I know. Marriage can be hard when you have an issue like that, but you love him. Let's get him healthy. So with the broken leg, that means that his gait is going to be off. And February, the leg's healed by now, okay, because now we're in September. So his pelvis is going to be unstable for sure. And this is what happens with a lot of doctors. They're going to miss, even though the fracture was obvious, but to hit with enough trauma to damage that is going to damage the other leg as well. It's going to damage the pelvis. It's going to damage the lumbar. It's going to damage the thoracic area. Because if you fall and think of, bam, like that, I hit this, but that force was translated into my shoulder, into my rib cage, into my head, into my neck. So the lumbar issues that he got secondary to breaking the leg are going to be a contributing factor. He's going to have an unstable pelvis. So look at our pelvic health video. Get to a corrective chiropractor to look at everything, okay? You're looking at the neck. You're looking at the mid-back. You're looking at the low back. He's also going to be doing pain meds, or more than likely. The problem with pain meds is after about 5 days, they have addictive qualities, but pain level increases. So people will get addicted to pain medications, muscle relaxants, everything else. So look at natural pain relievers, such as omega-3s, vitamin C, juicing, blending, direct application of heat or ice, depending on what the problem is. There's a lot of alternatives to addictive substances that damage the body's ability to heal, because that's what pain relievers do. So once you've dealt with that, it fix the sleep pattern. So look at our sleep restriction videos. Those are chemical stressors. Then get him on juicing and blending so his body can heal, but stabilizing that pelvis. Look at our pelvic health video. Get a trochanter support on him. Start getting him to do leg swings, because both his knees are going to be an issue. You've got a pump on the back of the calf. called the soleus, and his calves are also going to be off because he's been out of commission for a few months. So if you get to a corrective chiropractor that understands how to look at the whole body, it's called holistic, but it's just flat out common sense. Okay, then beautiful. Then he will recover. God bless you for helping him. I know sick relatives can be a pain. Question 8 from Jerry Fish, 9730. I have a terrible kyphosis. I'm 81 years old, lost 5 inches on height. Had 10 children, love the Lord. God bless you, dear. Any help for me to stop the terrible hump? Absolutely, there is. Number one, an 81 with 10 children. Oh my gosh, your house at Christmas? That would be a blast. Yeah, kids at Christmas are the greatest gift in the world. Okay, so the body is leaning forward. Get to a corrective chiropractor to look at everything, okay? And I mean everything. We're looking at the neck. We're looking at the low back, mid back, everything. And I'm talking stress x-rays of the lumbar. Because rounding over the shoulders like this could be the result of blood acidity. Now follow this, and this is really cool because you are made in the image and likeness of God, and you're one of the people that are aware of this. The body doesn't do anything stupid. It does things very intelligently. Now, thinning of the bones, which can cause that gibbous hump deformity, okay, are from blood acidity. Think of this. It's a bone alarm from a blood problem. Now, you got 4 things: respiration, perspiration, bowel movements, and urination. Those are how your body detoxes. If you're having depressed function of those detox pathways, then the body has got to maintain its normal pH. So it's going to go through and literally cannibalize the bone to get the calcium out, to get the positive ion, to alkalinize the system. So diaphragmatic breathing is going to be huge. Look at our pelvic health video where you're going to be sitting with a foam piece or plastic water bottle. You can start to stretch that area, but you've got to, and it literally, I'll have people lay on their back, and they'll have to have a whole bunch of pillows because they can't lay flat on their back. But just to sit with a little bit of pressure, to lift up with your arms to get a little bit of a traction, that will also help. And if you have a foam piece or plastic water bottle behind you, you're having a force loading. But I wouldn't recommend doing any of that until you get a baseline. So you got to get to a corrective chiropractor to find out if there are any fractures, because that's usually a contributing factor, why the fractures occurred. So he's going to look at respiration, or the chiropractor is going to look at respiration, perspiration, bowel movements, and urination. We're going to look at sleep pattern changes. We're going to look at gut health, because if you've gone through certain medical procedures that were forced on the public, that can have a negative effect on the blood. And if the blood isn't healthy, or blood becomes acidic, then the body is going to cannibalize the bone. So just look at how the system works. And God bless you, dear. 10 children. Oh my gosh. Yeah, your house at Christmas would be amazing. But you will get better. How much? And because I've worked, the worst I've ever seen, patient 11 fractures out of 12 vertebrae. And these were all in the thoracic area. Some of them were years past. But she literally went to pick up something, heard a pop in her back, and she noticed that she was in a rounded position. So you're going to get that all the time when you're a corrective chiropractor. So we've got to fix the underlying problem, and then your body can regenerate. So there is help for you. God bless you. Question 9, Susan Thompson, 5895. What about every single muscle spasm? and I was a muscular therapist. I'm scared at this point, having trouble walking now. Yeah, muscular therapist, God bless you, okay? When you're working on the muscles, okay? And if the muscles have had trauma, fantastic. One of the biggest things is you've got to figure out why the muscles are spasming. Like arm and leg muscles, these are phasic. You can tighten them and you can loosen them. The muscles that run down either side of the spine are not under conscious control. They're under proprioceptive control. So If you are scared, okay, those muscles increase in tone. If you're bending off to the side, the muscles on the convexity are going to tighten up. If your head's forward, the muscles on the shoulders are going to be tightened up, and they're going to try and reposition it. So look at what controls the muscles. And this is going to be the brain function, particularly on the muscles on the back. And this is either side of the spinous process, about 2.5, 3 inches. They're the paravertebrals. They're not under conscious control. And then look at 3 different things. Having trouble walking now means that you more than likely have compromised nerve supply in the lumbosacral area. Lumbar, sacrum, unstable pelvis, compromising the nerve supply to the feet. The feet may be flattening out. You may see the big toe leaning towards the other toes. There's could be a lot of different adaptive responses to compromised nerve supply. So get a thorough structural and neurologic assessment from a corrective chiropractor. And I would be shooting your knees, your pelvis, your lumbar, bending films of the pelvis, stress films of the neck. I'd for sure as heck do a nerve scan. Okay, find out if you have an autonomic imbalance. We've got to change the sleep patterns. We've got to change digestion. And this is just eating the same way your great-grandparents ate. So there's no magical diet, okay? They ate nothing but organic, healthy, free-range, good food. No preservatives, packaging, or chemicals. And then look at minerals. Because when you're in a stress state, and there's physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. When you're in a stress state, your body produces less stomach acid. Less stomach acid means you can't absorb minerals. Not absorbing minerals can cause a huge amount of muscle cramping, aching, and spasms. So, in crazy world, they'll just work on, the symptoms and not understand that it could be from a chronic autonomic imbalance where you're in a fight or flight state, creating low stomach acid, so you're not having the raw materials to build the body. So look at juicing, blending, bone broth. Look at natural anti-inflammatories like omega-3s and vitamin C. So all of these are going to get the raw materials in the system. But unless you're out of that sympathetic dominant state, you're not going to get the absorption. So get a thorough structural assessment and look at why the muscles are spasming. Then you correct the system. Then the muscles will relax. Because forward head carriage, the only way to relax those spasms is to restore the curve, and you correct why the muscles were in spasm. It's really cool, and God bless you for your work. Anybody that's working on humans, you got to know you have a divine mission. Question 10 from Seppuki, 1905. What are the names of the postural muscles on either side of the spine from the base of the skull to the top of the sacrum? They've got a lot. I mean, you got the intertransversarii, interspinalis, multifidi. They're called the paravertebrals. And that just means the muscles on either side of the spine. The real designation that I like is postural muscles, or because you've got phasic muscles that you can use. Postural muscles are not under conscious control, and that's the key. You got to figure out why they're spasming. Now, if you have a convexity, those muscles are going to increase in tone to contract to realign the body. If your head's forward, the muscles are going to contract to reposition it. So they are called postural muscles. Now, what's interesting, and this is because people are still learning about how the body works, and really we're still in our infancy. The intrinsic muscles of the spine, and these are muscles smaller than your pinky, but they have 4 times the amount of muscle spindle receptors or sensory components in there. And these are the ones that go in between the vertebrae, across the vertebrae, little tiny muscles. It turns out that the thought process now is that they don't move the bone, but they're there for sensory component to send information up to the brain to tell you the position and motion of those vertebrae so your body can adapt. Isn't that cool? So you got muscles that may be solely sensory and not mechanical in nature. I love that. Or they do have a mechanical aspect. So look at the paravertebrals, postural muscles are the key, but there's a lot of different subcategories of those. Okay, now, if your question wasn't answered in this video, visit the Dr. B VIP or one of our other private sites. We're developing another one too. That's going to be amazing. We're going to shift all the Dr. B over. I won't have to censor on the Dr. B VIP. So I could expand further on subject matter that the censors aren't happy with. Did you ever think you'd be living in a world where I'd have to do questions for censored and questions that I can speak freely? Okay, so visit our sites. God bless you all. Stay healthy, my friends.